Winter is coming with an Arctic blast by Halloween and our first potential snowstorm for fall. But how do we get there? So let's walk you through the details in this update. Take a look at the tropics first, because we've got a formidable storm out there in the eastern Pacific. That is actually Tropical Storm Norma. 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm, all intents and purposes expected to become a hurricane and get dangerously close to the Cabo San Lucas region by this weekend. Further to the north, we've got an area of instability. That is our fall storm that's traveling from the northwest down into the southeast. That will actually bring more heavy rainfall for a good part of the mid-Atlantic as well as into the northeast this weekend. And taking a look at the overall surface map, we can see it kind of stand out here. We've got the ridge of high pressure going to be building across the west. So we're looking at some pretty warm temperatures this week, if not actually some record heat unfolding, as this ridge of high pressure will be slowly migrating from west to east all week long. And we'll be watching this storm system that's right now over portions of the Dakotas through Minnesota. That's going to be winding up and intensifying by the time we get into that Friday time frame. So we've got an area low pressure that will really start to be building and digging down here in through the mid-Atlantic. That will be off the eastern seaboard and then race up and bring some heavier rains for a good part of the Northeast and New England. Again, folks, you get hit hard with more heavy rain this weekend, and there is a Norma still lurking. So it's going to take its sweet time down there into the eastern Pacific. And there's the surface map on your Friday afternoon. So where the ridge of high pressure is, that's where you've got essentially severe clear skies. You've got a lot of heat underneath that. So the temperatures are really going to start to soar for October standards. And to the east, there's that, weakness in the trough. That's going to bring that instability and that deepening low pressure that's going to be hanging off the coast. That's going to bring some heavier rains back through the Carolinas, through a good part of Kentucky and West Virginia, back into the Pennsylvania region, back into New Jersey and Delaware and DC region. New York City is going to be hitting with some more heavy rain this weekend. So again, this is just another weekend for this same area. I think it's going to be 6 out of 7 weekends that you've seen a storm system impacting your region. But there's the temperatures going into Friday, folks, and there's that ridge going to be really dominating a good part of the country this week. In fact, 26 record high temperatures potentially unfolding on Friday, even up here into the Pacific Northwest. All these areas that are circled, those are potential record highs across Washington and Oregon and northern portions of California. Even in the desert Southwest, I think Phoenix had 105 the other day. It was their hottest, latest temperature on record, folks. And we got plenty of heat building across Texas this week. Austin could hit 94, 95 degrees. That would also break a record. I think I've read 33 record high temperatures so far this year. They'll be adding to that total heading towards Friday and that Saturday time frame. But you can see most of the country is going to be plenty warm, if not hot. And the only coolness in town is where that low pressure is and where that fall storm is going to be impacting up here in the Northeast with some heavier rains. And you can see on the surface map, by the time we head into Saturday, most of the country, probably 78% of the country, have experiencing those pretty clear skies. Really the only instability is going to be really across a good part of the mid-Atlantic and especially into the Northeast. By then heading into New England with that more heavy rain getting back into the picture. And there is Norma still waiting in the wings, getting dangerously close to the Cabo San Lucas area on Saturday afternoon. And there's your overall temperatures on Saturday afternoon going into that Sunday time frame. You still got widespread 90s and plenty of heat funneling in from that southwest flow. So really a good part of the country is still experiencing those plenty warm temperatures this week. But things are going to be turning on a dime next week with that Arctic air coming in from the northwest. So let's walk you through the details just between now and Sunday. Here's the precipitation map. So where that ridge is going to be really dominating for a good part of the week, there's not much rain. There's not much happening underneath that type of atmosphere. So just kind of enjoy the nicer weather. Yeah, it's going to be pretty messy up there into the northeast and back in New England. There's some rain potential amounts, and the heaviest amounts will be in New England with another 1 to 3 inches possible, essentially from upstate New York all the way to Maine. And there is where Norma is, still off the coast into the eastern Pacific, getting really close into the Cabo San Lucas region. But by the time we head into next week, so likely about Tuesday time frame, Norma is finally going to get north enough. It's going to get north enough. It's going to actually get caught up in this subtropical southern jet stream. And when that happens, that is going to be able to pull some of the moisture that's going to be waiting down there into the eastern Pacific, as well as into the Gulf of Mexico, and start spreading it into Texas, New Mexico, and good part of the southern and central plains, with heavier rainfall extending into that Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe. So here's where Norma is now. So right now it's a formidable tropical storm, 70-mile-per-hour. It's moving north-northwest at 7 miles an hour. All indications this becomes a hurricane. And the latest update from the National Hurricane Center has it dangerously close to the Cabo San Lucas region sometime on Monday morning as a weak hurricane or as a strong tropical storm where it is now. But we'll continue moving across, so definitely some higher wind packs for that region, but that will be continue to move across. And yes, by the time we head on that Tuesday timeframe, it is going to be north enough of Baja California, entering Mexico, that is going to be getting to caught up in that subtropical jet stream and start to spread its heavier precipitation back into Texas, into Oklahoma, into Kansas region. So this area is desperately needing rain. So the rains finally come back next week, and they look to last at least several days down here in this region, as we'll be starting to look all eyes to the northwest as our cold front will just now be coming into fruition by then. So by the time we hit on that Tuesday time frame, this is October the 24th for folks, we've got that trough digging down in from the Aleutian Islands, and this could likely be the coldest temperatures so far we've seen this fall. As it's going to be underneath that, you still got plenty of warm conditions you're going to be starting to deal with for at least the first half of the week, and some rain underneath those clouds. But up to the northwest, it's going to be cold enough up here in British Columbia and start sneaking into Montana and Idaho, where it's going to start snowing, folks. So that low pressure center will start to dig down here from British Columbia back into portions of Idaho, and the snow could be starting to crank out. While just to the south of there, we've got that flow coming in off the eastern Pacific, coming in off the Gulf, wrapped up into the subtropical jet, and that will spread the heavier precipitation into Texas, through the Panhandle, through Oklahoma, through Kansas, back into Nebraska here, into Iowa, as well as into Minnesota and Wisconsin here, going into that Wednesday time frame. And out ahead of it, we've got a lot of energy we're going to be building up into the upper atmosphere. So yeah, I would think, next week, probably the only day we have to be concerned about severe storms is possibly on that Wednesday time frame in the vicinity, in the vicinity of Texas and the Oklahoma region. So be on the lookout, and we'll be, of course, fine tuning this in the days to come. But that's the only day I've got concerned right now for severe storms as we head into next week. So the main player is going to be the coldest temperatures of the season, as the temperatures will really start to drop up here in Montana. We're talking 20, 25 degrees below average temperatures. Definitely not out of the question as we start to hit that Thursday time frame. This would be next Thursday, folks. Next Thursday, as that cold will continue to plunge, and that's going to bring the snow along with it. And that's going to be the fruition, the beginning stages of, I think, our first initial snowstorm that's going to really start to get its act together. So we're going to have heavier snows in the mountain regions across Idaho and to Montana. That's going to be sneaking into Wyoming, but we're going to have a formidable low. And of course, underneath that, we still got daily rain chances from that leftover remnants from Norma here. And that's going to be the Arctic high pressure. That's a 1040 Arctic high pressure. That's something we have not seen this fall. Trust me, folks. This is definitely going to be the coldest temperatures you've felt so far this fall. And that's going to bring that snow line a little bit further south as well. So we should start kicking in the snowstorm sometime on your Thursday night, Friday time frame, as this is really going to start to dig down here in portions of Wyoming and northern portions of Colorado, but then really start to wind up across a good part of Nebraska, especially South Dakota, and that's going to traverse across the Minneapolis region on your Friday, your Friday afternoon, as that colder air will continue to plunge, and these are potentially at morning temperatures by the time we wake up on next Friday. That's single digits, folks. Single digits in Montana, single digits into Wyoming. Obviously, it will start to modify further south back into the teens, but definitely the coldest temperatures. And you can see the sharp gradient. We got a 35 degree drop from these areas across Kansas and just to the other side of Kansas. So this is going to be a significant cold front for October standards. And there's the snowstorm will continue to unfold across a good part of Minnesota, through the Wisconsin region, through the northern portions of the Great Lakes. That'll be on the day on Friday afternoon. And so once the remnants kind of moves out, the precipitation from the remnants moves further enough north, that is going to allow that cold front to keep diving southbound, and it will start to pick up speed by then. And so now you're seeing those 20 and 30 degree below average anomalies all the way down into Oklahoma and all the way down into the Texas region, as those sharp gradient in the temperatures, that 35 degree drop in temperatures is going to sink all the way down to the south. And that would be next weekend. So yes, folks, you're talking highs in the 90s down there in Texas, and now you're talking wind chills potentially in the 30s by the time we go into next Saturday. So that's going to be a significant change, a big roller coaster ride of what you're going to experience just over the next 2 weeks. So we got plenty of heat coming this weekend, but plenty of cold coming next weekend. So before that, we've got the heavier rains and more rains extending. So these areas across the south, we're talking potentially 4 days. We've got Wednesday, we got Thursday, we got Friday, and also Saturday time frame of just some welcome rain. So expect some wetter times going to the middle part of next week through your Saturday. And of course, once that cold front moves through that area, then things will start clearing out on the backside. It's going to be chilly, folks, on Saturday afternoon. These are potential wind chills. As those wind chills, you're definitely going to be feeling the difference. Trust me, from this weekend to next weekend, instead of the 90s, you'll be in the 30s for wind chills up here in Oklahoma and a good part of Texas here. So yeah, just be prepared for that. You got pool coming up on the weekend, and then you got the jackets are on in full force coming in, next weekend with that Arctic air. And there's the welcome rains too. So you got the heavier rains this weekend across the Northeast as well as into New England. But then here's the heavier rains that will spread into the southern and central plains. Compliments of Norma down here and the subtropical jet. These are going to be welcome rains. Then, of course, underneath that, to the north, there is our first potential snowstorm. So we're going to have some intermountain snows across the Intermountain West regions. But then as the low will start to dig and build and intensify, we're likely going to have a pretty good swath of snow. Could be 6 to 8, some even isolated heavier amounts across this region, from Wyoming through northern portions of Nebraska, through South Dakota, all the way through Minnesota here, going up to northern portions of Wisconsin, and then up into the Great Lakes. So definitely be looking for warmer temperatures now, but the big change headed in towards Halloween. and that will leave a snowstorm in its wake by the time we get into next weekend. We're talking the 28th, 29th time frame of October. So guys, I appreciate you guys following. Definitely check out my winter forecast after this update and catch me in the next update while I protect you for and after the storm.